Hi, everybody. Welcome. This isn't a regular podcast. This is Northpointe Conversations. So we have our new children's minister, Jenna, here with us. And we just want to kind of get to talk to her so you guys can get to know her. Hopefully you'll still talk to her when you see her at church and everything. So, but yeah. I think the most important question that everybody is wondering is if you are a MSU fan or a Buckeye fan.
Hold up, you just took the camera off of me to ask her that question, Sylvia.
That was I have control over here, so go ahead.
I'll be honest, I have zero clue which one is which.
Fine. You'll learn.
My father is like, Jenna, you're gonna get killed up there if you don't know which one's which. And I'm like, it's a college. I don't know. Yeah. So it's been kind of hilarious. But
that's fine. And there's U of M too. I know some people maybe watching might not like me just leaving them out, but I did. So
how dare you?
We'll show you later, and you can pick, however you pick sports teams if it's based on color, cute uniforms. That's how I pick like who's winning the Super Bowl and all that. All right,
always
Jake, looks like you have something to say. We'll go ahead.
She does have NFL allegiances, though. They're wrong, but she does have NFL allegiances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I just can't help it that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are just superior. I mean, you can't. I mean,
sounds like shots
fired.
fired.
What other team can basically come from nothing and give their entire audience just a heart attack and stress the entire game and then just win? Only us. It's kind of the Kansas City way. We always come from behind, and it's just great.
And I think we've talked about this too before. Like, I don't really care about NFL football or any football, if I'm being honest. But Joe Burrow had my heart last season, and so that Jake and I don't know. I don't think Rick cares about.
He's a Washington Commanders fan.
Okay, yeah. So, and they don't have any cute players that I know of off the top of my head.
I don't know anybody on staff that was like a hardcore Lions fan here anymore.
No, but
sorry.
Really we had to stop. We had to start with the controversial question first.
Yeah, sports.
And Jenna, why don't you kind of give that quick little your story? A lot of people may have heard it at church when you first came and stopped and talked to you, but why don't you just go ahead and tell people a little bit?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing about my story is that I was raised in a single parent household. And so, sometimes there's a lot of opinions and views on, Christianity, single parent households, especially the way that I came. And the only time that I ever went to church truly growing up was VBS, because my mom was like, it is a night off. I get to be free, and my kid's going to go have fun. And truly that was my biggest exposure, was going to kids' church. And, my family taught us the Bible, your choice is your choice. Whatever you choose, that's fine. And so a lot of my family members aren't Christians. A lot of my cousins, they're like, well, maybe I'll think about that later down the line. But right now I'm going to live, what I want. And that was definitely the life that I lived in high school and middle school. And it wasn't until actually I met someone who I thought was amazing in my freshman year of high school. And I was like, you know what? We'll go to church. Why not? And within going to church for a boy, I found a man, and his name was Christ. And it took me about 6 months of going to church for the gospel to really hit, for me to understand, Jesus loves me, and that no matter what I've done, he's like, I covered that. And I think that is the most important part of that. As humans, we are terrible, we are awful, but that Christ is so good, that he isn't awful, and that he's like, I got this. I'm going to take this. And so I got baptized, and after that, I got my call into ministry. And I was like, God, of all people, why me? I'm like, what do I have to offer your kingdom? I'm just here. And he's like, you're going to go to ministry. I'm like, okay, sure. I fought that calling. And then all of a sudden I was like, God, okay, I'll do it, after facing a lot of warfare and battling within my spirit. And the minute I said yes, I just had that sense of peace. It's like, okay, God, this is what you have for me. And so I took a whim and I applied to Liberty University. And my mom was like, there's zero way you're ever going to get in. I love you. No. But I ended up getting in, and that is such a God moment, a God thing, just because, he's so faithful in directing each step to this process of doing ministry. And so there, I started volunteering at Thomas Road Baptist Church in their kids ministry. And I met this little girl. Her name was Jelena. I absolutely love her. And, she always came in kind of with a frown, kind of down. But the minute she would see us and see the church, she would just have the biggest smile on her face. The starting of the year, she would not dance. And if you know me, I will happily go on stage and just do all the motions. I mean, I'll go. We'll do it.
Hey,
we are so going to make that happen now.
Yeah, okay. You heard it here first.
There it comes.
Prepare your kids.
Movements with Jenna on Sunday morning.
We
got to get Jamie
service or something, yeah.
Like, what is it? Like,
oh, yeah. All the interpretive dance, I think.
Interpretive dance?
Yes,
oh, yeah. I'll bring my flags, too. But, but yeah, and so, so she started off like, no, I don't want to go on stage, no. And then she eventually got on stage with me, and she would, I'd be holding her hand, and she's like standing behind me. And by the end of the year, she's out there being like, I'm owning this. This is what I got. And, she used to be the kid that would run around everywhere and not, ever engage into a lesson. And then she ended up being the person who was just, I know the answer, Miss Jenna. I know. And it's absolutely awesome to see, these kids know so much about the Bible, more than what we probably give them credit for. Like at our preteen summer bash, it was so funny. There was a kiddo who said, what is up with God and the number 3? And I'm like, man, I don't know if I would have ever thought about that. And I was 19, 18 in college, and I was just learning that. And I'm like, she's a preteen. And she's already getting it. She's already seeing these patterns that God has for us. And so, so that's a little bit about me.
Well, and I was going to say, too, it's so cool that you were kind of thinking like that when you were so young. I guess the people, like, I grew up in church, like, my whole life. My parents were Christians, and just some of my friends that I would have come to church, like, it didn't click like that for a lot of them, or they just didn't care. They'd come for the youth group games or something. So it's just cool that it really stuck with you, and, like, that's just how God had your story. But
oh, yeah. And one of my favorite verses is that, your greatest strength is weaker than God's greatest weakness. And I love that, especially because it's saying no matter how strong you think you are, God's greatest weakness is stronger than that. And it just holds that embodiment of like, hey, he is the Lord. And the minute I learned that is the minute I was like, hey, God is God, and I have to serve him. And if I don't, like, what is life? What is life? If you don't serve God, it's pointless.
Well, and too, so, like, what, because, like, we have obviously talked, so I want to make sure that I'm not, like, just skipping over things that other people might want to know. But, hey, I guess if they want to know things, then they can come talk to you on a Sunday. But, like, how did you come to Northpointe? And, like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I reached out to Jake a few months before, and I was like, hey, I saw the website. I saw that you guys had a job opportunity for a kids minister. I want to do it. And he's like, hey, you got to go through these few steps first. And I was like, okay. And then, a few months later, about 6 months of interviews and stuff like that, we started talking. But I truly fell in love with Northpointe after seeing the website and just our values that we have, of like scripture first, community first, as well as, we're not just a community within the church. We are a community as a whole, in DeWitt, Lansing, and all the other cities that are combined. And so that's really what brought me into Northpointe, was that this church is on fire for bringing in and building the community that we live around. And I absolutely just love that. So I got here through Northpointe. I was like pausing. I was waiting, hey, God, when the right opportunity comes, when the right church happens, make it obvious and known that is where I'm supposed to go. And he did. It's so awesome that he was so crystal clear about where he wanted me to go and everything. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah.
So if you were paying attention, she had one conversation with me and was like, I should be
your next children.
And
at
right now,
Northpointe.
she's regretting it.
I'm just saying.
Like, oh,
that's what I got out of that answer there, Sylvia.
Yeah. Well, you were happy that,
I just knew.
Yeah, we're moving in that direction, having you. And she's still in training, so you're still doing it for a little bit. But, I mean, Jake, you were in charge, right, of children's
Yeah, it only gets better from here. So that's good.
Rock bottom.
That's good. We're just going to get better and better. Hey, Jenna, you've been here a little over a week now?
Yeah.
Or so. So the big question that I have is what has been like something unexpected in the move, like moving to Michigan, moving to the greater Lansing area, and like something that you didn't expect that you're like, man, this is really cool. And maybe something that like has popped up that you're like, what in the world is this? Like, what is this strange culture that the natives here are into?
Yeah.
Something I've noticed is everybody in Michigan talks so fast. And like, I grew up and I thought my family talked fast. not at all. I have a third cousin up here, and I'm like this, trying to keep up. And so that's something that I'm like, man, everybody's so fast here with driving. I'm like, there's no speed limit here. It is.
Suggestion,
it's
really.
A suggestion. And my State Farm Drive Safe is not liking that. But sorry, Mom. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is the culture difference of just how people communicate here is very, very different. Just one with the speed, but how they use their verbiage and how they talk. That's been my biggest adjustment. But also, I think the weirdest thing about Michigan in the summer is that it does not get dark till 10 o'clock. And I feel like
Cool.
I feel like I've been telling everybody that. I'm like, it doesn't get dark. It doesn't get like, what is up?
But isn't that cool because you have so much more time for activities?
Well, my dog loves it. He's like 10 o'clock at night. Let's go to the dog park. And I'm like, I want to go to bed, Brody.
That's funny because like we're like in Kansas City, you were closer to. What would that be like? The time zone change or whatever, so it would be like darker a little bit earlier.
Yeah, somewhat different.
Are we trying to, and like people trying to get rid of time change anyway, or like
better?
That's a thing. They pushed that for years. I don't know if that's happened. Here's the thing though, Jenna, if you enjoy darkness, there's this period between like December to March.
Yeah, you just wait. It's a flip side. There's a flip to that.
Yeah, the Michigan summers are fantastic and you earn them in the
Don't see
winter.
light.
Yeah. Nice.
And,
But hey, if
for a
that's the
pastor,
weirdest thing, I mean,
for a pastor, that is a great sermon illustration right there. Be like, when spring comes, it's like when light comes.
Yeah,
listen,
let me go get my
full of
pencil.
ideas. Yeah, hold on. Jake needs to write this down. Aren't you preaching this next Sunday? So
Damn, Father's Day.
there you
Whoop,
go.
whoop.
Father's Day. Well, thanks, Jenna. I mean, do you have any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I think as you know, you're jumping into children's ministry. You've talked a little bit about this story for this little girl, and that was kind of like this catalytic moment that you were like, hey, I want to do this. I want to impact kids' lives here a little bit more. As you're thinking of the long haul and ministry, like what would you say are some things that you really want kids to understand as they go? So if I have a kid, and I have two right now, third on the way, they're going to come up through children's ministry that you're kind of overseeing and working with this fantastic team of volunteers. What are the things that, man, you would hope in their years through children's ministry that they're going to walk away with?
Yeah, I think one of the most important thing for us to learn that was a huge shock for me that I had to learn was that the Bible is not technically about me. It's fully about God's story and that it is about him. And I always like to say we're kind of like a dancing tree in the background of God's story, where we get to be there. It's awesome, but fully the focus is on him. And I think that would be the biggest takeaway. I think giving these kids, especially from, Timbertown and Kids World, and I think especially in Merge, I would love for them to fully leave knowing how to study their Bible, knowing what context is, and that's important. And so I think knowing these things that this life is not about me, but it's about God, especially just with the culture that we're in, that is so important to ingrain in our kids is that, hey, this book that we live by is fully about God. I think that's the most important thing is that each person that God used in the Bible was used so that his son could come.
Yeah.
And that each, like David, Moses, Abraham, were all examples of who Christ is, but they still fell short. And it's constantly showing us that we still need Christ. Even with the disciples, they fell short.
Yeah.
We still need Christ. And I think that's the most important thing is for them to understand that God created perfection. We fell and we chose brokenness. But that God came and said, I'm going to come. I'm going to come for you. I'm not leaving you. And that he sent his son. And then where he's going to come back again. And I think that is the most important thing to tell these kids is that we are here because of what we did, but we're going to go somewhere because of what God did. I think that is the biggest thing that I really want to teach these kids is that everything that's happening is because of God. The Bible is about God. And that's who you worship. You don't worship self, you worship him. I think that is going to be the best thing that these kids can take away.
Yeah. And you got a team, you're overseeing the nursery age, Timbertown, which is our toddler age group. as well as Kids World, kindergarten to third grade, and then that really fun preteen trying to figure out everything that's changing and going on in life with that merge as 4th and 5th graders. And you've got some great team members to be a part of that. You got to meet a few of them, still taking out lunches and coffee and all that stuff here soon, I know. So if somebody was like, hey, you know what, Jenna, sounds pretty cool. I want to be a partner with you in that. I want to be a partner in helping kids understand God's story and how to read the Bible better and do all those kinds of stuff. Like, how would somebody get involved to get connected with you?
Well, email me. I would just love to talk to you. You know, my biggest passion.
What's that email?
DeFrain at northpointecc.org.
You got it. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm already memorizing. But I think the most important thing that you can do is email me. I'm going to want to grab coffee with you, grab tea, go out to lunch, dinner, because the most important thing for me, like I said, is for me to find you the best spot for you to serve in. You know, if you're like, Jenna, teaching is not it, I don't want to put you in the host position if that's not your skill set. I would rather find you the perfect fit where you're going to serve amazingly, that God has gifted you for, that you're going to flourish in. And I think that's just starting a conversation with me is the best way that, you know, we can learn more about, you know, your next steps with serving in kids ministry, as well as just learning, hey, why? What's your why behind wanting to serve in kids ministry? Yeah. And I care deeply about your story and what you guys have to say.
Yeah.
Well, and she's not just going to wait for people to come to her. She'll probably reach out to some people too. So
I already got a list.
Coming to a church auditorium near you, Jenna DeFrain.
Coming at you.
With her sparkly shoes.
Yeah, you'll see her coming from a mile away.
Especially, I love those sparkly shoes. They just they bright up the day.
Very cool, very cool. Hey, if you guys got any questions for Jenna specifically, maybe about ministry, maybe about, we didn't even get to, I don't think, your massive dog, miniature bear that you own, all those things. We'll save some stories for personal conversations there, but feel free to reach out, like she said, J DeFrain, DeFrain.
Yep.
Yes, at Northpointe with an ECC.org, or on the app, you can reach out and make those connections as well, website, all those kinds of things. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and getting to know Jenna a little bit more, and we'll see you on the next Northpointe Plus.
Yay!